The morning after their first night together felt like a dream wrapped in sunlight. Zuri stirred awake to find Min-jae still holding her, his chest rising and falling steadily beneath her cheek. For the first time in years, she felt no weight of fear, no chains of loneliness. Only warmth, only peace. When she tried to slip away quietly, his hand instinctively tightened around her waist. "Where are you going?" he murmured, his voice still husky from sleep. She smiled, her cheeks flushing. "To make breakfast. You always cook for me. It's my turn." Min-jae opened his eyes, the corners crinkling with amusement. "If you want to burn the kitchen, at least wait until I'm awake to save it." She playfully hit his chest, but the laughter quickly softened into something quieter, something that wrapped around them both. The realization that last night had changed everything. They were no longer just two broken souls pretending. They were real now, but peace is fragile, and the world outside their bedroom walls was waiting. Later that day, Zuri walked out to the garden with a cup of tea, soaking in the gentle breeze. She still felt light, almost weightless from the night before, but the feeling didn't last. A prickling sensation ran down her spine, the unmistakable sense of eyes watching her. She turned sharply, scanning the high stone walls of the mansion. Nothing, only silence. Still, her heart thumped uneasily. When she re-entered the house, Min-jae was in his study, his expression dark as he stared at a file on his desk. He quickly closed it when he noticed her, but not fast enough. She had caught a glimpse, photos of her. Recent photos taken from a distance. Her tea slipped in her hand, nearly spilling. Why are there pictures of me?" Min-jae rose instantly, crossing the room to steady her. His jaw tightened. "Because someone has been following you, Zuri." Her breath caught. "Who?" His silence was louder than any answer. By evening, security around the mansion doubled. Guards patrolled the perimeter. Cameras blinked red at every corner. And Min-jae rarely left her side. Yet Zuri couldn't shake the chill crawling over her skin. It was as if shadows were creeping closer, waiting for the right moment. That night, during dinner, Min-jae's right-hand man, Dae-sun, entered with urgency. "Boss, we found this at the gate." He placed a small black box on the table. Min-jae's eyes narrowed as he opened it. Inside was a silver bracelet, one Zuri recognized instantly. It had been hers as a child in Africa, the only thing she had kept from her past before adoption. Her hands flew to her mouth. How did they get that? The message was clear. Whoever was watching her knew her history, knew her vulnerabilities. Min-jae's fist slammed onto the table, his composure cracking for a rare moment. "They're getting bold." His eyes burned with fury, but when he turned to her, his tone softened. "I promised you I'd protect you. They'll have to go through me first." Zuri swallowed hard, torn between fear and trust. For the first time, she saw how dangerous his world truly was, but also how fiercely he was willing to fight for her. Days blurred into a tense rhythm. Zuri barely left the mansion now, spending her time in the library or practicing online classes. But the sense of being watched never faded. Once, she thought she saw a shadow move outside her window. Another time, she found a single white rose on the garden bench, though none of the guards had seen who placed it there. Min-jae grew quieter, more restless. At night, when he thought she was asleep, she often heard him on the phone, his voice low and sharp. One evening, after such a call, he returned to their room looking exhausted. Zuri sat up, unable to hold back anymore. "Tell me the truth. What's happening?" He hesitated, then sat on the edge of the bed, his hand finding hers. His thumb rubbed circles into her palm, grounding them both. "The same enemies your parents once aligned with," he said slowly, his voice bitter at the word parents. "They're moving again. And this time, Zuri, their target isn't just me. It's you." Her heart skipped. "Me? Why? I'm nobody." His eyes flashed with intensity. "Don't ever say that. You are everything. And they know hurting you is the only way to break me." Silence hung heavy in the room, broken only by her shaky breath. The weight of his words sank deep. She was no longer just Zuri, the orphan girl. She was Min-jae's heart, and that made her a weapon in his enemy's hands. But instead of fear, a strange strength flickered inside her. She squeezed his hand back firmly, her voice trembling but determined. "Then we fight together. They won't take me from you." For the first time that day, Min-jae's expression softened. He leaned in, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "That's my Zuri," he whispered. Yet even as he held her, the shadows outside thickened, waiting for the perfect time to strike. The storm was coming. The soft golden light of dawn spilled into the wide bedroom, painting the white curtains in pale warmth. Zuri stirred, her cheek pressed against Min-jae's chest, his steady heartbeat like a lullaby she never wanted to end. She blinked slowly, remembering the night before. The trembling kiss, the tenderness of his hands, the way he had looked at her as though she was the only woman in the world. Her lips curved into a shy smile. She had thought she'd wake up embarrassed, but instead, she felt safe, loved, whole. Min-jae shifted slightly, his hand brushing over her arm, then resting firmly on her waist as though even in sleep, he was afraid to let go. When his eyes opened, warm and clear despite the early hour, he whispered, "Good morning, my love." Zuri flushed. She wasn't used to endearments like that. Not from her adoptive parents, not from anyone. "Good morning," she murmured, almost shyly, but her heart danced at his words. He studied her, a small smile tugging his lips. "You're glowing, Zuri." She rolled her eyes, playfully hitting his chest. "Stop teasing." "I'm not teasing." He tilted her chin gently so their eyes met. "You don't know how much it means to me to wake up and see you here." The sincerity in his voice left her speechless. She had spent years being unwanted, pushed aside, reminded she wasn't truly part of her adoptive family. Yet here was this man, a feared mafia boss in the eyes of others, speaking to her as though she was his whole world. Breakfast was light that morning. Pancakes, fruit, and coffee served in the sunlit dining room. For the first time, Zuri found herself laughing freely, telling Min-jae silly stories from her childhood in Africa, of chasing chickens barefoot and singing loudly at night just to hear the echo. He listened intently, eyes soft with adoration, occasionally reaching out to wipe syrup from the corner of her lips, his touch sending sparks through her. Later that day, Min-jae insisted she join him on a drive. They moved through Seoul in his sleek black car, his hand resting over hers on the console. People stared as they stepped out together near a cafe, the mafia boss and the mysterious black woman by his side. Zuri felt the weight of the stares, but Min-jae ignored them, walking proudly, his arm firm around her waist. At one point, a middle-aged man whispered loudly, "Why her? Out of all the women, he chose her." Zuri froze, her insecurities bubbling up, but Min-jae leaned close, lips brushing her ear. "Ignore them. Let them choke on their jealousy. You're mine, and I'm proud of it." Then, right there in the open, he kissed her forehead. The stares no longer mattered, but sweetness was not all that lingered in the air. As they left the cafe, Zuri noticed a black sedan parked across the street. At first, she thought nothing of it, until she realized it had been behind them during the drive earlier. She glanced back once, twice, but each time, the tinted windows revealed nothing. A strange unease crawled over her skin. Back at the mansion, she finally whispered, "Min-jae, I think someone was following us." He stilled, his eyes darkening, that softness replaced by the cold steel he wore in the outside world. "You saw the car too?" Zuri nodded. He took her hands, holding them firmly. "Listen to me, Zuri. If anyone ever approaches you, don't speak to them. Don't try to be brave. Call me no matter where I am. Promise me." She swallowed hard, nodding. "I promise." That night, while Zuri lay in bed pretending to sleep, Min-jae stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear. His voice was low, clipped, dangerous. "Find out who's been tailing us. I want names before the sun rises." The storm was coming. Zuri could feel it in her bones. But when Min-jae slipped back into bed and pulled her close, whispering soft words in her ear, she realized something else too. No matter what shadows lurked outside, she wasn't alone anymore. The next morning, Zuri awoke to the sound of rain pattering softly against the glass walls of the mansion. The world outside looked washed in silver mist, calm and peaceful. Yet inside her heart, the unease from yesterday still lingered. She remembered the black sedan, the way its presence clung to them like a shadow. She turned her head. Min-jae was already up, standing by the edge of the bed in a fitted black shirt, fastening the cufflinks on his sleeves. His face was set, sharp, his expression darker than usual. "You're leaving early?" she asked, her voice still groggy with sleep. He turned immediately, his expression softening when he looked at her. "I didn't mean to wake you, Zuri. Go back to sleep." But she sat up instead, wrapping the blanket around herself. "It's about the car, isn't it? The people who were following us." His silence confirmed it. He crossed the room, kneeling on one knee beside the bed. His hand cupped her cheek, thumb brushing lightly against her skin. "I don't ever want you to feel unsafe. That's why I need to deal with this quickly." Fear pricked at her chest, but she forced herself to smile faintly. "Just don't do anything reckless." His lips curved into the smallest smirk. "Reckless? Love, you married a mafia boss. Reckless is part of the job." He kissed her forehead before standing, his voice lowering to a promise. "Stay inside today. No walks outside the gates, no peeking through windows. Trust me with this." When he left, the mansion felt too quiet. Zuri wandered aimlessly, the click of her slippers echoing across the marble floors. She tried distracting herself with her online classes, reading chapters and taking notes, but her eyes kept drifting to the rain-streaked windows, expecting to see that same black sedan parked outside the gates. By late afternoon, her phone buzzed. It was Min-jae. "I'll be late," he said, his voice rougher than usual. "Don't wait up." Her heart skipped. "Are you okay?" Pause. Then, "I'm fine, but they're bolder than I thought." The line went dead before she could ask more. That evening, she ate dinner alone in the vast dining hall, the clinking of her fork against the porcelain plate sounding unbearably loud. She hated this. Not knowing, waiting, wondering if he was safe. For years, her adoptive parents had used silence as a weapon against her. But with Min-jae, silence was different. It was the weight of danger pressing against the walls. By midnight, she was curled on the couch, pretending to read when the sound of the front door unlocking jolted her. She rushed to the foyer and there he was. Min-jae, rain-soaked, a small cut on his cheek, his shirt collar disheveled. "Min-jae!" Her voice cracked as she ran to him. He caught her in his arms instantly, pulling her close, his grip almost desperate. "I told you not to wait up," he murmured into her hair. "You're bleeding," she whispered, pulling back to look at him. "It's nothing." His voice was firm, but his eyes softened at her worry. "A warning shot. They want me to know they're watching." Zuri's heart clenched. "Did they hurt you?" "No," his tone carried steel now. "They won't get the chance." Still, she guided him to the couch, fetching the first aid kit herself. She dabbed at the cut with trembling hands, and for the first time, Min-jae didn't stop her from fussing. He simply watched her, his gaze unblinking, as if memorizing her every movement. "You're shaking," he said quietly. "Because I'm scared," Zuri admitted. "Not for me, for you. I don't want to lose you, Min-jae." He caught her wrist, pulling her hand to his lips and kissing her knuckles with a gentleness that undid her. "You won't. I swore I'd protect you, Zuri. That means I can't afford to die." She let out a shaky laugh, though tears brimmed in her eyes. "You make it sound so easy." "It is," he said firmly. Then his voice dropped, almost tender. "Because you've given me something worth living for." Silence stretched between them. Not the heavy silence of fear, but the kind that carried weight, meaning, love unspoken yet deeply felt. That night, when they finally lay in bed, Zuri clung to him tighter than before. Outside, the rain eased, but in the shadows of Seoul, enemies sharpened their knives. This was only the first warning. The day started out ordinary. Sunlight spilled warmly into the courtyard as Zuri tended to the small flowers she had planted along the side of the mansion. It was her quiet ritual, the way she kept herself grounded in a world of luxury and danger. Min-jae had gone to meet his men for a short while, promising he'd return before evening. She hummed softly to herself, tucking a stray braid behind her ear. That was when she felt it, the subtle prickling sensation of eyes on her. She turned, expecting maybe one of the guards Min-jae always stationed nearby. But before she could react, a black van screeched to a stop just beyond the gates. Masked men spilled out, fast and ruthless. Her heart jumped into her throat. "Zuri-han?" One barked, his accent thick, his eyes gleaming with malice. Before she could scream, a hand clamped over her mouth, lifting her off the ground as easily as if she weighed nothing. She kicked, twisted, scratched, but the men were too many. Her cries muffled into the palm pressed against her lips as the van door slammed shut. The last thing she saw before darkness swallowed her was the mansion gates shrinking in the distance, her heart hammering one name over and over. Min-jae, Min-jae. When she came to, the air smelled of oil and rust. The room was dim, a warehouse with broken windows and leaking pipes. Her wrists were bound to a chair, the ropes biting into her skin. Across from her, a man leaned casually against a pillar, his suit sharp, his smirk sharper. "So this is the woman who tamed the beast," he drawled. The feared Min-jae, the ruthless Mafia boss. All because of a girl from Africa. Zuri's chest tightened. She refused to give him the satisfaction of fear. "If you think hurting me will break him, you don't know him at all." The man laughed low and cold. "Oh, I know him, and I know exactly what string to pull." He leaned closer, his breath chilling. "You." Her heart raced, but she lifted her chin defiantly. "He'll come. He'll come for me." The man smirked wider. "That's exactly what I'm counting on." Meanwhile, Min-jae was already tearing Seoul apart. The moment he learned Zuri had been taken, something inside him snapped. His men had never seen him like this before. His face carved with fury, his voice like thunder. "Find her," he roared. "Every second wasted is blood spilled." Hours blurred into minutes until finally, one of his men rushed in, breathless. "Boss, we found her. Old dockside warehouse." Min-jae didn't wait for a plan. He didn't care about strategy. All he saw was Zuri's face in his mind, terrified and alone. He armed himself, slid into his car, and drove like a man possessed. The warehouse door exploded inward with the force of his boot. Gunshots erupted instantly, the sharp crack of bullets echoing through the hollow space. Min-jae moved like a shadow, his fury fueling him, each enemy falling swiftly under his hand. Zuri flinched at the chaos, her body trembling against the ropes. Then she saw him, Min-jae, storming through smoke and fire. His eyes locked on her, as if she was the only thing in the world. "Zuri!" His voice was raw, desperate. "Min-jae!" Tears filled her eyes, relief flooding her chest. The rival boss grabbed her, pressing a knife to her throat. One step closer and she dies. Time seemed to freeze. Min-jae's gun aimed steady, his jaw tight, his heart screaming inside him. "Let her go," he growled, his voice dripping with lethal promise. "She's not your bargaining chip. She's my life." The man sneered. "Then watch your life bleed out." He pressed the blade harder against her skin. Zuri gasped, her tears spilling. That was the moment Min-jae's control snapped. A single shot rang out faster than breath. The rival boss staggered, dropping the knife, collapsing with shock etched on his face. Min-jae didn't wait for the body to fall. He was at Zuri's side in an instant, cutting through her ropes, pulling her trembling form into his arms. She sobbed against his chest, clutching him as if he might vanish. I thought I'd never see you again." His arms tightened around her, his lips pressing fiercely against her hair. "Never. Do you hear me, Zuri? No one takes you from me. Not while I breathe." Her tears soaked his shirt, but she managed a shaky laugh. "You came for me. I will always come for you," he whispered, his voice breaking for the first time. They left the warehouse together, her head against his chest, his arm wrapped protectively around her shoulders. The storm outside had broken into moonlight, silver beams illuminating their escape. And in that moment, Zuri knew. No matter how dangerous the world was, no matter how many shadows lurked, Min-jae's love was stronger. Stronger than fear. Stronger than death. Stronger than fate itself. The news broke like wildfire. Within weeks of Zuri's kidnapping and rescue, the Han's empire began to crumble. Their businesses that once seemed untouchable were seized in investigations. Partners who used to flatter them now turned away. The same society that once praised them for their wealth and power whispered behind their backs with cruel laughter. It was poetic. The people who had sold their adopted daughter into misery were now stripped bare before the world. Zuri sat in the sunlit garden of Min-jae's mansion, the morning breeze rustling through her braids. She read the headlines on her tablet but felt no satisfaction. She wasn't a woman who rejoiced in others' downfall. Yet she couldn't deny the strange sense of peace that came with knowing karma had done its work. Min-jae appeared behind her, draping a warm shawl over her shoulders. His presence always carried a weight, the kind that made her feel safe without words. He kissed her temple softly. "They lost everything," he said simply, eyes scanning the same headlines. Zuri closed the tablet and turned to face him. "It's strange. I thought I'd feel vindicated. But all I feel is free." His thumb brushed her cheek gently. "Because you've let go of them, Zuri. You're not their daughter. You never were. You're mine." The way he said mine sent warmth rushing through her chest. For years she had been tossed around, rejected, unloved. Now she belonged not as a possession, but as someone truly chosen. That evening, Min-jae surprised her. He led her into one of the mansion's grand halls, now transformed with candles, soft music, and petals scattered across the marble floor. Her breath caught. "What is all this?" He smiled faintly, his usual sternness softened. "A celebration. Of us. Of the fact that you survived, that I didn't lose you. That somehow, in this dark world, I found light." Tears welled in her eyes as he drew her close, swaying gently to the music. She rested her head against his chest, listening to his steady heartbeat. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a forever that wasn't painful, wasn't lonely. After dinner, he carried her in his arms, effortlessly, as though she was weightless, up the wide staircase to their bedroom. His eyes never left hers, and she couldn't stop smiling through her tears. The night that followed was unlike the first time they had shared love. Then, there had been nervousness, shyness, newness. But now there was confidence, devotion, and tenderness born from all they had endured together. Min-jae's touch was slower, gentler, as if memorizing her all over again. He whispered her name with every kiss, every caress, reminding her she was cherished, adored, irreplaceable. Zuri gasped softly against him. Her body arching to meet his as tears slipped down her cheeks. Not from pain, but from the overwhelming sweetness of being so loved. "Min-jae," she whispered, voice trembling. He kissed the corner of her lips, murmuring, "I've got you, Zuri, always." Her hands clung to him, nails pressing lightly against his back as she cried out softly, her voice filling the room with the sound of surrender and love. He held her tightly through it all, never letting her feel alone for even a second. When they finally lay tangled together, skin to skin, breath mingling in the quiet, Zuri felt something she had never known before: wholeness. Hours later, as moonlight spilled through the curtains, Min-jae pressed his lips against her forehead, whispering, "Someday soon, I want a little girl with your smile, or a boy with your stubbornness." Zuri's cheeks warmed, her hand instinctively resting over her stomach. For the first time, she didn't fear the thought. Instead, a small smile curved her lips. "Maybe someday," she whispered back. He tilted her chin, his eyes gleaming with quiet hope. "Maybe sooner than you think." She laughed softly, snuggling closer into his chest, her heart fluttering at the possibility. Outside, the city still whispered of chaos, crime, and betrayal. The Hans lived in shame, their empire reduced to dust. But inside the mansion, in the warmth of that room, none of it mattered. All that mattered was this: Zuri had found the one man who saw her, loved her, fought for her, and promised her forever. Their story, born in shadows, had blossomed into eternal love. And as she drifted into sleep in Min-jae's arms, her last thought was a prayer, that their love would not only heal the past, but also create a new future, maybe one that was already beginning to grow quietly inside her. Months later, the morning sun spilled golden light across the mansion, dancing over the polished floors and soft curtains. Zuri stood by the window, her hands resting gently on her slightly rounded belly. A soft smile curved her lips as she felt the tiny flutter of life inside her, a reminder of everything she and Min-jae had survived, and everything they had built together. Min-jae appeared behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist, resting his chin atop her head. "Good morning, my love," he murmured. Zuri leaned back against him, eyes closing. "Good morning to us," she whispered. He pressed a kiss to her temple, letting his fingers trace patterns over her stomach. "I never imagined life could feel this full. You, me, this little one, everything." Her eyes glistened. "I thought happiness was impossible after everything I went through, but you made me believe in it. You made me believe in love." Min-jae tightened his embrace, his lips brushing her hair. "It's because you are love, Zuri. You always were. And now we get to make a life together, in every sense." Outside, the city hummed with life, but inside the mansion, there was only peace, only warmth, only the quiet, unshakable bond of two souls who had survived darkness and found each other. Zuri rested her hand over his, feeling the gentle pulse of both his heartbeat and the life growing inside her. She leaned her head against his chest and whispered, "I can't wait to meet them, to see what we've created." Min-jae smiled, a rare softness in his usually intense eyes. "And they'll see what love looks like, born from every storm we've endured." The morning light wrapped around them like a promise that the past would stay behind them, that their love would continue to grow, and that their family, forged in trials and sealed in devotion, would thrive. Together, they turned toward the future, hand in hand, hearts entwined, ready for every new dawn.
Hello besties, in this sweet story we learned that no one's worth is defined by their past, status or scars. Zuri's journey shows that even when the world rejects your love, true patient, protected love can rebuild what was broken. Besties, pain can be turned into power, rejection into rebirth, and that being chosen isn't about perfection, it's about being seen and valued for who you truly are. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this story. Kindly like, subscribe and share.